How I make my videos. Scene 1, take 1. And action! Welcome to Haxby Shed. I'd like to tell you how I make my videos. I started work on the shed about 2 years ago, and it took me about 18 months or so to buy all my equipment and get it to a state where I was happy. And during that process, I spent a lot of time taking a lot of still shots, but also some video. So about 4 months ago, I decided that I would put some of my photos and video onto YouTube and try that out. I'd never done any work on YouTube before, so this was a new experience for me. Until very recently, all the video that I've taken has been with this Sony camcorder, which is a HDR CX220E. It's about the bottom of their range, and I bought it at the end of 2013 for about £150. It's a great point and press camcorder. It's extremely light, and it takes reasonable 1080p resolution video at 50 frames a second. The rest of the filming I did with my phone. This is a Pixel 3A, which is a mid-range phone, but amazingly it will take video in 4K at 30 frames a second. So you might say, if the phone is so good, why do you need a camcorder at all? Well, there are a couple of advantages with the camcorder because of its format. It's got this flippy screen, and the flippy screen means that you can see yourself as you're filming. Another advantage is it has an optical zoom lens, which the phones generally don't have. On the phones you can zoom, but it's electronic, and really you're just stretching the pixels, and as you zoom more the quality just gets lower and lower. But it's not like that with the camcorders with the optical zoom. As I've taken video with both of these, I've come to realise actually that the phone takes better video, better quality video. So I was on the lookout for a new camcorder, and after a lot of thought I got a Sony AX43, and that's what I'm filming with now on a tripod. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. And it's an excellent video camera which films up to 4K at 25 frames per second. So this is the setup that I'm using right now to film this part of the video. You can see that I've put the Black & Decker Workmate to good use. And on the tripod is the camera that I bought very recently, the Sony AX43. This is the simple rig that I use for a lot of my video when I'm working on this table. This tripod actually came with a telescope. It's a simple thing, but works perfectly well. Here's another simple rig that I have, which is just using a magnetic base with a selfie stick. And this works extremely well. It does wobble a bit as the lathe is running, but I have some improvements in mind. And this is my setup for my shaker shots. This is my studio lighting, which with a magnetic base clips on pretty much anywhere. That would be a typical setup. I've bought a number of small items from eBay to supplement my camera rig, like this rod clamp here, which I've tapped out to take a camera fitting. These clamp jaws are really nice, and they have tapped holes in the top to take camera fittings. And also you can see that I've got the magnetic DTI base with a 12mm post, and I've got another bar clamp here at the top which I've threaded to take that swivel which takes the camera. So using what I've already got and just with a few items I can really build up quite a good rig It looks a bit unorthodox, but it's has got great utility and works perfectly well. One of the things that you become very aware of when you're videoing is the amount of background noise there can be. So it's often the case that you start videoing and then an aircraft goes over, or somebody starts a hammer drill, or, as we just had, the world's noisiest fly came into the workshop. And all these things you never notice when you're not videoing, but when you are, it's another noise. After videoing, I do my editing, and to continue the story, we need to go inside and work on the computer. Now we've moved to the house, and I'm filming this on my phone, 1080p, 50 frames a second. The video will be good, I'm sure, but the problem with the phone is I can't see what you can see. If I turn the phone around into selfie mode so I can see, the picture's not so good. Anyway, just to say a little bit more about these camcorders. So on this camcorder you can see two small grills here, and behind those are the two microphones. So this records in stereo. This one has got three microphones under this cover here, and that records in up to 5.1 Dolby. Now I've heard people say it's a bit of a gimmick, it's not real 5.1 Dolby, but actually when I try 2-channel stereo and then I try the 5.1 Dolby, I find you get a lot more atmosphere and better quality sound, and it's more sensitive. So I like it. The problem is that it's only supported in certain recording formats. When considering the format, perhaps the first thing to think about is how the video is going to be viewed. If it will always be viewed on a smartphone, you don't need the same level of resolution than if it was always viewed on a 60-inch TV. The other thing to consider is how fast the subject will be moving. For a slow subject, perhaps 25 frames a second will be fine, but for a fast-moving subject, 50 or even 100 frames per second may be necessary, and all these things affect the size of the file you will get as you complete the video. Here are some example file sizes for different resolutions and frame rates. So you can see 4K at 25 frames per second or 1080p at 50 frames per second. But you can also see here XAVCS or AVCHD. These are different compression schemes because consumer video is rarely uncompressed. You can see the file type here, MP4 or M2TS. All these things affect the quality and size of videos produced. This is my PC. It's a Dell XPS 430 and I've had it for 12 years. I've progressively upgraded the spec and it's fine for such as email and web browsing, but to be honest, for video editing it struggles and I should probably look at upgrading it. This is my monitor, which was an upgrade about 5 years ago. It's just a Dell and it's pretty good for 1080p. Choice of video editing software depends to a large extent whether you're an amateur or a professional. I wanted to encode some VHS tapes and I saw a bundle package offered by Pinnacle Studio with this encoder and Pinnacle Studio 8, and I've stuck with it and I'm now using Pinnacle Studio 23. It's not perfect, but I've got used to it. Now if you don't want to pay for video editing software, you could use something simple like Microsoft Video Editor, which comes with Windows 10. It's actually basic but quite capable. It doesn't do fades and transitions, but certainly for putting family video together it would be perfectly suitable for that.
This is my Pinnacle Studio editing view with my source video files here, my editing timeline across the bottom, and the video output screen here on the right. I'm not going to go into any detail about this because there are plenty of good YouTube videos about Pinnacle Studio online.
Which is just using a magnetic base with a selfie stick. And this works extremely well. It does wobble a bit as the lathe is running, but I have some improvements in mind.
The jerkiness in the video over here is just because the file hasn't been rendered yet. After editing, the next step is to export. I can choose all these different settings over here on the left. So at the moment it's set to 4K, but normally I will output in HD 1080p. Once you've finished your editing and created your video file, you can then view it in whatever form you choose. I'll be uploading to YouTube, and this is my channel page that I see when I log on. I'm not going to explain this in any detail because there are plenty of good videos about this. Anyway, that brings me to the end of my video about making my videos. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching Hacks Be Shed.